This is one of the most important Lexus products to launch in 2022, the new LX, the flagship four-wheel drive of the range. And it is a four-wheel drive, isn't it? You can't really get away with calling this an SUV because it has the underpinnings of a Toyota Land Cruiser, and this one next to me has the engine from a Land Cruiser as well. Not like that's any bad thing, because this is the new Lexus 3.3 litre twin-turbo diesel V6, making 227 kilowatts of power and 700 Newton meters of torque. Just like the previous gen LX, there's a petrol engine and a diesel engine, but this time neither of them are V8. They're both brand new V6 powertrains. It's going to save you at the Bowser while still providing a nice, refined, torquey experience. Now, we're going to be able to road test the new LX range in about a month from now, but today I'm going to take you through this base model LX 500D. Well, it's not truly a base model. Can you really call a $148,000 car a base model? But this one has the optional enhancement pack, which will set you back another $5,500. So whichever way you look at it, it's a little bit dearer than the old J300 LX, but you'll see when we jump inside, it's a more opulent car pretty much all around. Now, the one I've got with me here is Khaki Metal, a deep green over hazel tan, certainly a Tom spec if you're a subscriber to the channel, and I encourage you to do so down below, where you'll also find my walk around of the LX 600 ultra luxury four-seater. But this 500D diesel is a 7-seat model. Only the base grade LX will be a 7-seater. There's an F Sport for the first time, and a Sports Luxury, which are 5-seaters, and then an ultra luxury 4-seater at the top. So we'll check out the interior, the back seat and the boot, and then talk about the mechanicals under the bonnet before I give you my sort of verdict of first impressions ahead of a later road test. So let's make a start. So what do you get for your $153,000 or so in this base LX 500D with the enhancement package? Well, you get quite a lot because standard specification across the LX range is really quite good. You can take it pretty far. You can spend 60 grand more than a base model on an ultra luxury, and I've already got a video on the channel you can watch of that car with the 4-seat interior. But even on this kind of school run spec LX 500D base with enhancement package, this is still a very luxurious car, as it should be. We are talking about over $150,000 here, but in terms of opulence, this isn't as far as the LX goes. So what do we have? Same infotainment package across the range, built around a 12.3-inch touchscreen, navigation, digital radio, wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, although we expect an update to wireless to happen at a future date. But you also get a 25-speaker Mark Levinson reference stereo across the range, one of the best stereos in the industry. And to have that as a standard feature rather than a pricey option, like cars like the GLS and X7 typically have, is awesome. We then get this 7-inch screen beneath the main unit. You've got your climate controls, sort of redundant climate controls, because we do actually have buttons for most of the functions, apart from fan speed, which you have to drive through the touchscreen. We also get off-road controls and a camera view for if you are taking this vehicle off-road. Beneath that, I've mentioned some of the physical climate controls. We then have drive modes, rotary dials with a nice clicky sound, and also the low range transfer case over here on the left-hand side. On this big wide bridge, we have obviously the gear lever for the 10-speed auto, wireless charging, big cup holders, and we have controls for the heated seats. Interestingly, cooled seats are no longer standard on the LX, which is a bit of a disappointment here in Australia. You'll have to step up to the F Sport or the Sports Luxury to get that feature. Bit more storage ahead of the shifter, USB-C and USB-A. Then we get onto the steering wheel, which is pleasantly small, has paddle shifters behind it, all the shortcuts you'd need. And here on the base grade LX, we have beautiful Shimamuku wood in dark brown gloss. It looks really, really lovely. We've got a mix of analog and digital gauges here in the center, trip computer info, media, navigation, and a standard heads-up display. Plus, quality is really, really, really high in the LX, as you would expect of any Lexus, but particularly one which is such an important hallmark vehicle for the brand. Now, what about the seats? We're sitting on the base seat here, feels supportive. I do need to do, a few hours in the saddle to let you really know about that. You can catch that in a future road test, but we've got plenty of adjustment, 12-way adjustment in this seat, a little bit more actually, 16-way adjustment in the seat. And you've got a choice of colors, black, white, crimson, which is like a deep red, or hazel, which is what we're sitting on here, which is a classic tan, always a classy option, particularly underneath the deep green color of this car, which looks really lovely in the light, as well as here in the studio. So up front, we've got a high quality interior. Feels like it'll go the distance. Let's check out the back seats. Here in the second row of the Lexus LX, it's an accommodating space. Now, compared to that ultra luxury that we've already got a full breakdown of available on the Chasing Cars channel, it's obviously a step back in theory, but it's still a very luxurious place to spend your time. And of course, you have a center seat, meaning you can get more people into the car. Not only that, but the LX base grade, which this car is the only spec to have a third row. So that's available in both the LX 500D diesel and the LX 600 petrol. The range takes in the 7-seater base model, which you can have an enhancement package on, as this car does, and then you jump into the 5-seaters, the F Sport and the Sports Luxury, and then into the 4-seater, which is the ultra luxury. So if you're actually intending to use this as family transport, you'll just want to keep it base. In terms of what the enhancement package adds, we're talking 22-inch wheels up from 20s, sunroof fitted to this car, and a kick sensor for the power tailgate. So it's not a massive change, fairly modest. In terms of amenities back here, the seats themselves are actually quite comfortable. Being a body-on-frame vehicle, your legs are a little elevated, but you can kind of splay them just slightly, and they are supported by the seat base. But a monocoque SUV, something like a Volvo XC90, is ultimately more comfortable in the second row than any body-on-frame vehicle. Then we have air vents down here. We have a separate temperature zone for both sides of the rear and a shared fan control as well. All the materials continue to be soft, dark headliner, quite chic, manually adjustable rear blinds, which is okay at 148K, but on the $210,000 ultra luxury, could have been motorized, I reckon. More Mark Levinson reference speakers back here, of course, because there are 25 in total. If you can't hear the stereo, well, you got to turn it up a bit louder. Flip down armrest here with cup holders integrated within it. We don't have features like the power operated rear seats that you get in an ultra luxury, of course, but they do have quite a bit of recline in them. So I can see myself potentially dozing off here on a longer trip regardless. And of course, we have the third row too. Not massive, because ultimately the LX isn't that big. There are longer SUVs available on the market, but really nice so you could take a couple of extra kids with you if your children have friends going to the movie theater or the ice rink, games parlor, etc. We'll drive the new LX 500D and LX 600 models pretty soon, and you'll be able to catch those road tests here on Chasing Cars, so make sure to hit subscribe. But I'll give you a few preliminary details now. So as I mentioned, this vehicle is fitted with the 227 kilowatt, 3.3 litre twin turbo diesel engine that's expected to account for a few more sales this time around, although overall we think the petrol will probably still be the most popular LX. The LX 600 uses a 3.5 litre twin turbo V6 petrol engine, making 305 kilowatts of power and 650 Newton meters of torque. The diesel is slightly more affordable, but there's only a few grand in it. It used to be a massive jump from the base diesel to the base petrol in the LX range. That's definitely been condensed, while the range itself has gotten a lot bigger than last time, because we've now got 4 distinct grades and an enhancement pack on the base grade as well. Lexus say they're expecting about 500 sales per year of the LX, although they're all spoken for 2022. So if you like the look at this car, you'll be getting a 2023 delivery if you place an order with a dealer now. Now, in terms of other mechanical points, the hard points and the wheelbase pretty much carry over from the J300 LX, what Toyota and Lexus refer to as the magic wheelbase. Everything's in the right place to take this vehicle off-road. Now, the LX off-road spec that we've already seen in Japan, there's been no discussion at all about that coming to Australia. So if you are intending to go far off-road in one of these vehicles, a Toyota Land Cruiser will still be an easier vehicle to retrofit. You'd have to do pretty substantial work to this front end in order to fit aftermarket bars and that sort of thing. But you know, still a very capable vehicle, inherently baked into the mechanicals, of course. These wheels here, these are 22-inch wheels. Everything has 22s from the enhancement package right up to the ultra luxury, but the base model has 20s. And given the overall size of the vehicle, the 20s will have a very tall sidewall and they'll deliver the best ride quality of any LX. The F Sport model, which is new, that has adaptive dampers. The rest of the range has passive dampers, but this has always been a comfortable car and we're expecting that to continue to be the case. Dunlop rubber Grand Trek tyres fitted here, again as per the J300. Not expecting this to be any kind of sports car, but TNGA F, the platform underneath the vehicle, is more rigid than the 200 series platform was. I've mentioned the wheelbase, quite a short wheelbase given the vehicle is 5 meters long, but that means that the overhangs are pretty significant on the vehicle, and that's one of the reasons why cargo space is fairly generous, particularly in the 5-seat models, but it's not bad in the 7-seat model either. Here around the back of this Khaki Metal LX 500D, we can see this new full width LED light bar. It's kind of got similar rear lights to the new NX. This is the new family tail end that Lexus is going to be adopting across its cars. And of course, we have the Lexus word mark here now rather than the L logo. The L is still on the front and on the steering wheel. This is polarized views in our comment threads on the NX. You can let me know what you think down below, but we do have diesel badging here. But again, just like with the J200, no exposed tailpipes on any LX, just sort of a stylized diffuser down here. Tow package, of course, is a very, very popular accessory for the Lexus LX. And also, just a quick word about quality. This is a production stage vehicle. This isn't a prototype, and going around the car, the shut lines are impeccable, which is exactly what you would expect for any Lexus product, any Land Cruiser derived product as well. That's a big reason why you'd consider buying one of these things, is the idea that it probably won't fall apart. Now, underneath this tailgate, one beep, the Land Cruiser beeps all the way up. There's a good reason to buy the LX. Huge tailgate, big struts, and it opens up to reveal 982 litres of boot space, which is pretty large in 5-seat form, but a little bit less than the 5-seater LXs. And that's because this base grade, even though it has the enhancement pack, it's hiding a third row. Oh, we do have to hold those buttons down. So we hold them down, but it is power operated. As you can see, it slowly, carefully brings the third row seats up. I'm evidently doing something weird with the buttons here, but there they come. And then the last stage I have to do myself, folding up the headrests. Definitely more spacious looking than the last generation, but you'll have to wait for our full road test to see how space is in that third row. But eyeballing it, I'd fit, which is good. Partially because the headroom is excellent. This is a full wagon bodied four-wheel drive, so the roofline continues forward even longer. In terms of boot space though, in 7-seat mode, very, very limited. The kids are gonna have to hold their school bags, I think, because there's not a huge amount of space left over here. We do just have a little underfloor area though for the toolkit and the warning triangle. One quirk to remember though is you've got to drop these headrests manually before you then put the third row down. Oh, that's interesting. The backrest is, whoop, a bit disconcerting. The backrest actually has 2 angles of recline, so you can generate a little bit more boot space, but this is still not massive with all seats up. We've got a 100-watt household power point in the boot, which is certainly a nice to have, and then buttons to close the boot or to close it and lock the vehicle, so you're able to just walk away with the proximity key that functions on all doors and the boot. So those are my first impressions of the new Lexus LX 500D base grade with enhancement package. One of many new variants to the LX lineup that will now also take in first ever F Sport for the LX, and also a super top of the range grade called the Ultra Luxury that we've already covered on the channel. In future, we'll have road tests of both petrol and diesel J300 LX models, so make sure to hit subscribe down below if you haven't already. But in a static fashion at least, my first impressions of this vehicle are good. I don't mind a Lexus LX if I'm being honest with you. They are more chintzy than something like a Toyota Land Cruiser Sahara, but the quality is really there. And if I was going to be buying a family SUV that I thought was going to last the distance, it might be expensive, but it'd have to be on your shortlist. As always though, I'll put a massive asterisk there and say everything relies on the road test. That being said, we have enjoyed the time we've spent in 300 series Land Cruisers since that vehicle launched. although it is very difficult to get your hands on one, as it will be with the LX. So if you think you're on the fence, but you're leaning towards getting one of these, I'd be speaking to a dealer pretty soon about a 2023 delivery, let alone 2022. Keen to know your first impressions though. Let me know down below in the comments. Don't forget about that subscribe button. I've really plugged that one this video, haven't I? And as always, thanks for watching Chasing Cars.